The Alaska Summit, How Putin Outplayed Trump on US. Let's start. The snow-dusted peaks of Alaska standing tall like silent witnesses. The wind whips across the tarmac as two private jets land on American soil. Out steps Donald Trump, bold, defiant, ready to prove to the world that America still calls the shots. And then, out steps Vladimir Putin. Calm. Cold. Calculating. Two men. Two histories. Two visions for the world. Why is it so? Now listen carefully. For decades, America has tried to sideline Russia with sanctions, with NATO, with isolation. For decades, the Kremlin has been painted as the villain of democracy, the enemy of freedom, the shadow lurking behind every crisis. And yet here was Putin, standing in America, hand in hand with Trump, under the gaze of hundreds of cameras and millions of viewers around the globe. This wasn't just a photo op. This wasn't just another handshake. This was a turning point, one of those rare moments when history itself pauses, takes a deep breath, and pivots in a new direction. Trump had promised a hard line. He had thundered about severe consequences. He had painted himself as the man who could finally bring Russia to heel. The world waited for fireworks, for confrontation, for that explosive Trump energy aimed at America's longtime foe. But what happened instead shocked even his staunchest supporters. The reason behind this is because when the summit ended, it wasn't Trump who looked like the victor. It wasn't America that stood taller. It was Putin, the man who, without firing a bullet, without conceding an inch, walked away looking stronger, more legitimate, and more relevant than ever. So how did this happen? How did a meeting designed to show American dominance turn into a stage for Putin's quiet triumph? Tonight, we dive deep. We uncover the four reasons, four undeniable truths, that explain why Putin outplayed Trump in Alaska. Stay with me, because this story isn't just about two men. It's about the shifting balance of global power. It's about the cracks in America's political armor. And it's about the future, a future where Russia, once written off as weak and isolated, now stands emboldened on the world stage. Now listen to Part 1. Part 1, the context, why Alaska? You should know the details. Before we unpack the reasons, we need to understand the stage itself. Why Alaska? Why now? Alaska isn't just any place. It's symbolic. Once sold by Russia to the United States in 1867, it represents the intertwined destinies of these two powers. For America, it's a proud frontier. For Russia, it's a bitter reminder of lost empire. So when Trump invited Putin to meet there, the symbolism was unmistakable. It was as if the past had come full circle, the land Russia once owned now hosting the leader of modern Russia for a summit that could shape the future of geopolitics. The world was already on edge. The war in Ukraine dragged on. NATO expanded eastward. Sanctions bit hard, but Russia endured. The West painted Russia as cornered, yet Putin kept appearing in Beijing, in Riyadh, now in Alaska. And Trump? He was desperate for relevance. With America divided and his political future uncertain, Trump saw in Putin both a challenge and an opportunity. If he could dominate the Russian leader, he could prove his strength. If he could secure a deal, he could write himself into history. But diplomacy isn't about strong words. It's about power, leverage, and perception. And on all three fronts, Trump underestimated his opponent. You must know this. Part 2, the four reasons Putin beat Trump. Reason 1, the optics. Diplomacy is theater. What the world sees often matters more than what is said behind closed doors. And on that stage, Putin was the star. From the moment he stepped off the plane, cameras captured him not as an isolated dictator, but as a global statesman welcomed onto American soil. Red carpets, handshakes, smiles, it was everything Russia wanted the world to see. Think about the years of effort by the West to isolate Moscow. Sanctions. Bans. Cancelled summits. Russia was supposed to be a pariah. Yet here was Putin, standing shoulder to shoulder with an American president, treated as an equal. Trump thought he was staging a show of American dominance. Instead, he gifted Putin legitimacy, a priceless prize in the propaganda war. And Putin didn't even need to say much. His presence was the victory. The images were enough. Every photo, every clip broadcast across Russian state TV, across Chinese networks, across the world, told the same story: Russia is not alone. Russia is respected. Russia is back. Now listen to me. Reason 2: Trump's trap. Before the summit, Trump set himself up for failure. He went in loud. He promised that Putin would face severe consequences if he didn't compromise. He vowed to be tougher than Biden, tougher than Obama, tougher than anyone before him. The problem? Expectations. When you promise the world that you're going to break your opponent, you leave no room for subtlety, no room for compromise. Anything short of humiliation looks like surrender. And that's exactly what happened. When the cameras rolled, Trump softened. He echoed Putin's talking points. He admitted that maybe the West had been too harsh. He suggested that sanctions might be lifted, that cooperation might be possible. What was supposed to be a display of strength turned into a portrait of weakness. Trump had overpromised and underdelivered. And Putin, calm and steady, let him walk right into the trap. Now. Reason 3: No concessions from Putin. Here's the heart of the matter: Putin gave up nothing. Russia's demands have been crystal clear. No NATO membership for Ukraine. Recognition of Russian control over seized territories. Relief. Relief from Western sanctions. For 2 years, those demands haven't changed. And in Alaska, Putin didn't budge an inch. Instead, he walked away with new promises, discussions of lifting sanctions, of tech cooperation, even whispers of space exploration partnerships. Imagine this: a man accused of war crimes, leading a sanctioned nation, arrives in America, and leaves with the possibility of cooperation in some of the most advanced sectors of global technology. That's not just a win. That's a masterclass in negotiation. Reason 4: Trump's flip-flop. Perhaps the most damaging moment for Trump came not from what Putin said, but from what Trump himself said. For months, Trump demanded that Russia halt its war. He positioned himself as the tough negotiator who would force peace. But in Alaska, he shifted. He began blaming Ukraine's President Zelensky for prolonging the war. He suggested that Kyiv was the obstacle, not Moscow. This wasn't just a misstep. It was a gift. For years, Russia's propaganda has pushed the line that Ukraine is to blame, that Russia is defending itself. And now, a former US president was echoing those very words. For Putin, this wasn't just political cover. It was validation straight from the mouth of America's most polarizing leader. Part 3: The Fallout and Global Reactions. The summit ended. The handshakes were over. The cameras turned off. But the impact was only beginning. In Kyiv, outrage. Zelensky accused Trump of betrayal. NATO leaders whispered about American unreliability. European allies, already uneasy, began openly questioning Washington's commitment. In Moscow, jubilation. State media played the clips on repeat: Trump smiling with Putin, Trump blaming Ukraine, Trump hinting at lifting sanctions. And in Beijing? Quiet satisfaction. For China, every American stumble is an opportunity. If Russia is stronger,